Good evening, friends. Uh, Welcome to this webinar organized by ValueQuest. We are very grateful for you to have been logging in. Let me just give you a brief on what the flow today is going to look like. I'm going to play a small AV, then it is going to be followed by a presentation by me, and then it is going to be an interview with Sri Madhu Kela. So without any further ado, let's just begin. Let me start by making that point. A lot of people think that COVID is the needle that pricked the bubble, but I feel it is the other way around. It is an accelerator or a fuel that's going to increase the fire even more. COVID, what does COVID stand for the market? I have an acronym for you, and the acronym is COVID. C stands for basically consolidation across sectors, cost-cutting initiatives, and benign central bankers. O stands for opportunity to grab market share, for example, China +1, and it's an opportunity in adversity. V stands for attractive valuations, and it is a V-shaped recovery that we are witnessing. I stands for India first, Atmanirbhar. Government has initiated so many policies to help the local sectors. And D stands for accelerated adoption and digitization. Yeah, so if you've been following me on Twitter, then you would have seen and you would have known what my views have been. But just putting it in context, how it has been a topsy-turvy ride, and calling the market has been a real challenge for many people. But again, we are at a juncture where it is very, very difficult to predict what's going to happen next. So we are going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into what's happening. Before that, a little bit about us, who we are, what we do. You can follow us on Twitter and check out our website. First things first, before we get into the presentation, a disclaimer. This presentation is for education and informational purpose only. Any mention of any company is purely for illustration purpose. It is safe to assume that ValueQuest has vested interest in any and all the stocks mentioned in the presentation. Me, my family, ValueQuest employees, and ValueQuest clients might have financial interest in the stocks mentioned. This is not a solicitation or advice to buy or sell any stock. Please consult your financial advisor before taking any action. With this, without any further ado, let's get into the presentation. So, bubble or a bull market? Oof, 2020, what a year it has been. From nerve-wracking crash in March to giddy heights of January. We have seen it all. If you are here today and listening to this webinar, consider yourself lucky. You have survived. And if you have been invested in the equity market for the past 10 months, then consider yourself doubly lucky. I hope for all our sake that we get over this pandemic soon. Is this a bubble or a bull market? This is a question that has been bothering almost all investors in recent times. There are so many anecdotal evidence of pendulum swinging quickly from doomsday to boomsday. How should we be thinking about this? So, US markets are clearly living through unprecedented times. Everyone is feeling euphoric. There are so many mini bubbles. Fake it till you make it seems to be the mantra, and investors seems to be egging it on, lapping up everything that comes their way. Even insider selling is resulting in supply being absorbed and stock shooting up even more after that. There are no sellers left, only buyers. Tesla is the leading example of the bubble in the entire EV space. There is exponential price growth. Other companies are taking advantage of that exponential price growth in Tesla, and they are coming in to raise money. New investors who do not know what they are doing are getting in on the train. Early investors and insiders are selling. Economy stocks are also soaring as they try and get a piece of the new shiny thing. The General Motors of the world are rising because they are getting into the electric vehicles. Crazy price movement in unheard of names with no connection to the fundamentals. Like a few days back, Elon Musk tweeted about a company called Signal. I mean, essentially everybody should get onto the chat app of Signal, but a completely different company called Signal went through the roof. I mean, this kind of behavior is clearly an anecdotal sign of a bubble. Now, what is happening in since last few days? GameStop, it's a company that's on the verge of bankruptcy, and unfortunately or unfortunately, many hedge funds are short in that. The Robinhood traders and the Reddit users of the world are taking on those hedge funds and creating huge losses for them. So if it looks like a bubble, feels like a bubble, then it must be a bubble, right? Now, just to put it in context, Bitcoin has surpassed all the past bubbles of the last 30, 40 years, since 1970s in extent. And again, it has all the classic signs. It is little understood technology. There are unrealistic promises of endless revenues, scores of small investors who want to get onto the bandwagon. It's difficult to understand and value. And people are buying only because it's going up in value. I mean, they don't understand why they should be owning Bitcoin, but they want to because the price is going up and they're getting richer. So in 2017 also we had something similar when ICOs, as they were called, initial coin offering, where all the rage, where a lot of money was being sucked in by these startups who were using the ICOs to raise funds for themselves. So are we in for a redo of 2017, or is this just, I mean, is this just a bigger bubble and barreling towards a louder pop? This is a very interesting chart. This is chart of, it's an index created by Goldman Sachs of technology companies which are yet to make profit. Just look at what has happened to this index in last 1 year. The index has shot up almost vertically. I mean, it's almost saying like the more the losses you make, the better, bigger the market cap it should be. SPAC is in space. Now, if you haven't heard what is SPAC, I'm sure you will hear about it in the coming days. SPAC is essentially a special purpose acquisition company. It is a blank check shell corporation designed to take companies public without going through the traditional IPO process. SPACs allow retail investors to invest in private equity type transactions, particularly the leverage buyout. Now, these transactions are very sophisticated, and ideally the retail should be far, far away from such kind of transactions. But here they are lapping it up, and right now they are having a hearty laugh and making money hand over fist. But is this restricted only to these small mini spaces in the market, or is this a more wide spread thing? Now look at the S&P 500 valuation. S&P 500 cyclically adjusted PE ratio is the highest it has been in its history, except for the dot-com bubble of 1999-2000. So even overall market valuations are starting to look a little frothy. Buffett indicator, as it is widely known, essentially market cap to GDP. Now this is world market cap to world GDP, and this ratio is at 124%. It is higher than it has been in the last 2 decades. Obviously, the times are very optimistic, if not bubbly, so to say. And on top of that, you have people like Jeremy Grantham of GMO who are warning us about bubbles. How should one react? I mean, we are here sitting in India. I mean, my stock, मेरा stock तो बड़ा नहीं और ये लोग bubbles की बात कर रहे हैं. अभी तो बेचने का time आ गया. So essentially, I never participated in any bubble, and now it's time for me to sell and go away. So when Jeremy Grantham says something, you have to take it. Pay attention to what he's saying. He famously warned in advance of the dot-com bubble of the late 90s, the credit bubble that popped in 2007. He's even famous for calling Japanese bubble, the technology bubble, and the housing bubble. So when he speaks, we have to listen. However, it would be injustice to not provide a full picture. We have to take a look at what the full picture is. So he has been writing these notes since 2010 through this entire bull market that US has seen. You can't mention his prescient calls without mentioning the ones that didn't come to fruition. It's only fair to point out that he has been bearish for much of the recent bull market. People have been calling for a bubble for a number of years, and frankly, they have been wrong. 2010, he has been saying caution, 11 caution, 12 caution. 2014, he went to the extent of saying this is a big stocks bubble, will end brutally in 2016. Then he went quiet for 4 years, and again he's back in 2020 saying this is the last dance. If I were to say it in terms of a test match analogy, essentially what he is saying is this is the 5th day of the test match and we are in the last session and the tail enders are at the crease and the lights will go out anytime soon. Are we there yet? You know, it reminds me of the talking annoying donkey from the movie Shrek who kept asking, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Someday we sure will be. Not to sound too arrogant or prickly, but essentially people who get the bubbles call right don't usually get it right. They get the call right because you do not remember the previous calls that they had made. You remember only the last ones, which obviously sticks in everybody's mind. The note is out there, and suppose the bubble were to collapse now, again he would be a hero that he called the bubble right. But honestly, practically, it is of no use or of any consequence to us investors. Why? Because if you had heeded his advice in 1995 when he first warned of the dot-com bubble, surely dot-com bubble happened. But the 5 years post that, Nasdaq gave a 43% CAGR return for the next 5 years. Now that was the best return ever probably in any asset class, and you would have missed out on that had you paid heed to his advice. And similar thing is happening today. Since his first warning, S&P 500 is up almost 130%. Not only Nasdaq, even S&P 500 gave a 26% CAGR from 95 to 2000. However, let's take a look at some of the past globals and put the current bubble in a little bit of context. So the biggest bubble, now how is this big bubble counted? It is not from the point of starting, but it is the last 3 years price movement. So if you see, Tulip Mania is the biggest one. That was in the year 1637. Essentially, the last 3 years, the prices for tulip bulbs went up by almost 2200%. The next one is Mississippi bubble, and the third one is already Bitcoin. Now, it looks like at this point of time that Bitcoin is going to end up surpassing the Tulip Mania and the Mississippi bubble as well. However, I am not making a prediction over here. Mississippi bubble is an intriguing one. Let me just give you a little bit of history over here. There was this particular Scottish adventurer, economic theorist called Mr. John Law, who was friend of the Duke d'Orleans. In 1716, essentially they established Banque Generale. The bank had the authority to issue notes, and he then got the exclusive privileges to develop the vast French territories in the Mississippi River Valley of North America. Essentially, he came to monopolize the trade as well as he had the monetary authority. So he was controlling both the country's foreign trade and its finances. Then he can do whatever he wants with the market. But even that looks like it is under threat from Bitcoin. Even that kind of a mania is likely to be surpassed. So there was an interesting survey done by Deutsche Bank very, very recently, where they surveyed about 627 institutional investors, asking them whether there is a bubble. And everybody knows there is a bubble. 90% of the respondent in the recent survey, they said that there is a bubble for sure, or bubble-like sentiment is prevalent. Now, the consensus can be right, but consensus might not be right on the timing of when the bubble is about to peak. Not only do they know that there is a bubble, but they also know where the bubbles are. It's in US tech equities and it is in Bitcoin. So now I'll just quote George Soros over here. Show me where's the bubble and I want to be in it. Essentially what he means is that I am going to add fuel to the fire. The bubbles don't end and don't burst. There is a solid ground on which the bubble usually starts, and it usually ends with some amount of liquidity being sucked out by the US Fed. But at this point of time, that doesn't seem to be the scenario. So COVID was not the needle that pricks the bubble, but instead it is the fuel that feeds the fire. This has been the statement that I made sometime in July. And now it is pretty evident, yes, it led to a massive surge in all asset prices across the board. So let's take a step back and understand what has happened in the world. What kind of liquidity has been pumped in? It's everybody's favorite punchline that this is a liquidity-driven rally. But you need to understand how much liquidity has been pumped in. And usually when this kind of liquidity is pumped in, what happens to the market? So, unprecedented global coordinated stimulus has been provided to the world economy. Now, one might argue that this will have serious consequences down the line. Surely it will, but we will have to cross that bridge when we get there. We cannot be worried about the secondary consequences without taking into account the primary consequences of the same. If you are going to give a stimulus which is greater than 10% of the world's GDP, world GDP is roughly about $85 to $90 trillion, and the global central banks, only the large ones, have printed more than $9 trillion and counting, then what is the kind of impact that will be there on the world market? You can imagine. Last year, the central banks increased their asset base by 52%. And on top of that, in 21, they are going to increase it by another 13%. The devastation caused by COVID is nowhere close to what was caused by World War II. Yet, the stimulus levels are reaching the World War II level. Besides the regular revenue and expenditure measures, the central banks have provided loans, loan guarantees, equity injection. Now, equity injection is something that was considered beyond the tools of central banks. It has now become an accepted method. Not many businesses are being allowed to fail. Even a business like cruise liner, where the revenues have dropped 95 to 99%, are also receiving a lease of line from the investors. On top of the fiscal stimulus is the monetary response. The interest rates have been cut across the board world over. And this has led to unprecedented low interest rates in human history ever. If you are going to give this kind of huge injection to the world economy, obviously there are going to be bubbles. Just to give you some sense of what has happened when the previous liquidity injections were provided and its impact on the equity market. So in 2001, famous Alan Greenspan created the first QE, or quantitative easing as it is known. Let's take a look at the proportion and its impact on the market. At that point of time, this was right after September 11, the global market cap was $23 trillion. The injection provided at that point, the money supply was increased from 6.2 to 10.3%. The fiscal deficit increased by 3.8%, and the asset purchase program was about 0.9 trillion. Now, 0.9 trillion was big. It was about roughly 3% of the global market cap at that point of time. This resulted in 6 years of bull market, and the market cap added was $63 trillion in 6 years' time. The global market cap went to $63 trillion. Now, but again, you cannot prevent the economic boom and bust cycle. So we had the global financial crisis. That point of time, again, the helicopter Ben came to the rescue of the market. Actually, they were trying to rescue the economy, but for all practical purpose, it was rescue of the market. So he increased the money supply from 6.2% to 9.4%. Fiscal deficit increased by 7.9%, and the asset purchase program was triple of what was done in 2001-2. And what happened to the world market cap after that? 11 years of sustained bull market in US, and the world GDP, world market cap went from 32 trillion to 90 trillion dollars in 11 years time. And then struck COVID, which brought the market cap down to 65 trillion dollars in the March of this year. And now this time the James Powell and company has unleashed a tsunami which remains unparalleled in human history. And the first order impact of that has been that the global market cap has gone from $65 trillion to $103 trillion in 10 months time. Now we cannot be very sure that these liquidity injections will work the same way that it has in the past. We also do not know when we reach a stage where the Fed ends up pushing at a string and their injections don't work anymore. However, liquidity needs a home and it will find one, and that is not going to change. It might move from asset class to asset class. It might move from geography to geography. It might move from time to time from various places. But until such event occurs, which sucks out most of the liquidity, like the global financial crisis that happened in 2008, until that needle meets the bubbles are going to grow larger and larger. So this was about the US market and the global market and the bubble. What about Indian equities? Is there a bubble here? So Indian Buffett indicator in India too is reaching a level not seen in the last decade. But of course, it is not the extreme as compared to US. But I would presume it is more because the markets are forward looking. While trailing GDP has been falling, the markets have been rising. Now the signs are more than evident that recovery has been quicker and more than anticipated. So a little bit of correction in the market and a little bit of time spent for the GDP to catch up, and again we will reach an attractive stage. Same is the case with PE ratio as we recover from what was clearly a temporary dip in earnings. Let us compare India with its past. So in India's history, there have been only 3 previous instances in the last 30 odd years where you can say were clearly bubble kind of situation. So 1992 peak, Harshad Mehta, at that point of time, India was a closed economy. But the important thing to note here is the 5-year cumulative return at that point of time were 740% or a 53% CAGR return and an ROE of 18% at that point of time. Compare that with the global financial crisis. The 5-year returns were 501%. Last 5-year returns CAGR was 43% and ROE was 27%. So essentially the prices were high and the profitability was high. So usually at a peak, the profits are high and the valuations being attached to those high profits are also very high. Now today, the market cap to GDP and PE looks a little kind of giving a red signal. But look at the other indicator. The corporate profit to GDP is at a low. Last 5 years return in Nifty is 14% CAGR and ROE is 10.2%. These are not signs of bubble. How to identify an unsustainable bubble? So this is our proprietary model that we use to understand where we are in the cycle. So when peak economic cycle meets peak earnings, meets peak valuations, and there is a heady mix of fundraising and leverage, those are the conditions which have been prevalent for some period of time, and then a needle arrives, a crisis, some sort of crisis arrives which sucks all the liquidity out. That is what leads to huge amount of wealth destruction. All of these conditions are necessary, but none of these conditions are sufficient on their own to pop the bubble. So just a visual representation of what I just mentioned. Usually it's the liquidity cycle that starts it off. The market follows the liquidity, then the earnings catch up, and then the economic cycle picks up. And there is usually a lag between each of this cycle. But there is a period where there is a point of maximum optimism, the maximum profits and profitability are getting the maximum valuation, and that is when the needle meets the bubble. Now, a lot of people don't pay attention to the numeric indicator. In fact, numeric indicator can be misleading, but you don't forget feelings. So if one has lived through a bubble in the past, they will know what I'm talking about. You cannot forget that feeling. These are some of the anecdotal evidence that you will see around you. And at this point of time, I clearly see many of those missing. There is no way are we in a strong economy, or there is positive news all around, I find there is a lot of skepticism. There is no euphoria. And people are worried about this not being a sustainable rally. So when COVID struck, a lot of people thought of it as a crisis. Of course, it was a crisis. But while everyone saw COVID as a crisis, what we saw for the corporate sector is this. It was an opportunity to reset a lot of things. Human ingenuity adjusted quickly to the crisis. Margins actually expanded, leading to a far lesser fall in profits than expected. So it was, in hindsight, very, very clearly an opportunity, but it was not clear to many people at that point of time. Now, people tend to assume that if there is a lot of liquidity, it is your birthright and liquidity will come to the equity market. It is not our birthright to attract the best of liquidity to India. Liquidity is very dispassionate and chases what it believes will provide the best return. So credit to India. We did provide them with a good enough reason to pour some of that liquidity into India. We still have to do our bit to attract that. And just to put the things in context, in the world market cap of $103 trillion, India's market cap is still at $2.5 trillion. We are still less than 2.5% of the world market cap. So, and it is in context of the India's GDP, which is also another 2.5% of the world market cap, of the world GDP. But why is India getting this special treatment? Okay, so this is what we believe is the hypothesis. Secular pillars for India have always been in place. We have attractive demographics, bustling and bumbling democracy, strong spirit of entrepreneurship. We are moving from socialism to capitalism slowly but surely. Economy was in a cleanup phase before COVID struck, and COVID actually led to it getting accentuated even more. It provided a reason for RBI and government to try and reinvigorate growth. RBI monetary policy started to have the trickle-down effect. Pro-growth government steps started getting noticed worldwide, and the reform intensity has only increased. And on top of that, we have just had a 40% fall in the market, and equities, the mid and small caps, which are already in the bear market since 2018, got really, really cheap, and we were attractively valued versus history and versus bond. So clearly the liquidity was attracted to India. And India, on top of that, managed COVID as well as its balance sheet better than most. So Indian economy prior to COVID, the credit growth has been falling since 2008. I'm quickly going to brush through all the indicators which essentially point to the fact that economy was not booming. We were not in a phase, and you also know that. I don't need charts to convince you. In fact, most of you might still feel that economy is not doing very well. Credit growth has been falling since 2008. NPA cycle, which had bottomed out in FY11, most probably has peaked in FY 2019. Public sector capex has been nothing to write home about. But next 5 years, the capex that is lined up is going to be double of what has happened in the previous five years. So PLI, private sector capex has in fact completely been absent. Production-linked incentive scheme is going to revive the private capex. We have already seen this play out in the electronics and the mobile manufacturing space. The next in line is pharma and chemicals, and there are 10 other sectors that are lined up. This is a timeline which provides which sectors are lined up for capex. And just to give you a sense of the cumulative impact this can have, $120 billion of capex over the next 4 years from private sector can happen for the PLI scheme. There has been absolutely no investment in the residential real estate since FY15. But the affordability ratio in real estate has reached very, very attractive level. Home loan payment to the income ratio is the most attractive that it has been. The effective interest on the home loan, the EMI that you pay, is working out to less than 4.5%. The tax incentives that you get and the interest that you save, I mean, for every 1% drop in the interest rate, it is essentially a 5 to 7% kind of a cut in the prices of houses for individuals. This is as mouth-watering as it can get. Now, I am not suggesting that real estate prices are going to start increase from here, but it is definitely going to lead to far more activity and absorption. And on top of that, state governments have started giving their own incentives. Corporate profitability has been at absolute bottom. Nifty 500 profitability to GDP has been falling from FY 2008 from 5.1% to 2.1%. So you see the PE ratio is looking good. That is because the profits have been falling. It is not that the price has gone up. It is the denominator effect that is in play. The return on equity ratio, which peaked at around 25-26%, has fallen all the way to 10%. Net profit margins peaked at 11.5%, have fallen to 5.5%. Asset turnovers, which had reached almost 1, are now almost close to 0.6%. On top of that, the Nifty EPS has not gone anywhere for the last 7 years. And if I were to take a little extended view, for the last 10 years, there has been very, very pedestrian growth in the Nifty EPS. But something has changed in the last 2 quarters. Since 10 years, analysts used to estimate 20-25% growth in the Nifty earnings and used to revise it downwards by the end of the year. But in the last 2 quarters, analysts are behind the curve, and first time in decades, the earnings are surprising positively. Earnings upgrade momentum is the strongest in over a decade. It's not only that the earnings are surprising, but earnings are surprising by a margin. Nifty returns, I mean, it's a repeat last few years, not much return. And what has the retail investor, the domestic investor done? So retail, which had not seen too much of a return since 5-6 years, decided to flee the market on the first signs of returns being generated. This is pretty much what happened in 2003-04 as well, when Sensex went from 3,000 to 6,000, and most of the retail was out of the market halfway through the rally. This is not a sign of euphoria. This is a sign of fear. This is a sign that I have not made much money. I need my money. Give me back my money. I would say today the conditions look more like this. Economy is slowing. The headlines are negative. Earnings are flat. Media reports is bad. Skepticism is high. So many signs, I would say, which depict that we are more to the bottom of the cycle than to the peak of the cycle. And this is again the graphical representation of what the bottom of the cycle would look like. Again, the liquidity cycle is the first one to turn. Market starts following the liquidity. Then the earnings cycle follow and the economy follows after that. So if the point of maximum was reached somewhere in the month of March, really in 10 months time, do you really believe that we have reached euphoria level? The economic cycle does not turn so quickly. The market pendulum might have swung, but it will correct itself. We will find a level from where we will start a fresh up move again. COVID provided RBI and government with an opportunity to take decisive steps. Okay, government provided the credit guarantee scheme. This has actually led to more than 16% growth in credit for the SME sector, which we haven't seen. For the last, for the last 10 decades, it's not. For the last 10 years, it's not happened. It started happening in the last 2 quarters. The corporate tax cut that we saw last year, that's a huge, huge thing, and the benefits of that are going to be everlasting. For infinite period of time, the corporate tax will be 10%, that 25%, and that is an additional 10% to the profit. PLI scheme, the change in mindset of the government towards capital market, strategic divestment they are looking to do versus the earlier ETFs that we're doing. RBI has done a fantastic job of ensuring abundant liquidity. Rate transmission has been hurried up. Systemic risks have been avoided by making sure the capital is raised by the banks. We have one of the highest tier 1 ratio for the banks. Yes Bank and ILFS were averted very, very smartly. Willingness to look through the temporary spike in inflation due to supply chain disruption and keep growth supportive policies. Highest ever forex reserve and a stable currencies. Now, when you have government as well as RBI saying that we are going to do whatever it takes to support growth, you have to take notice. Repo rate are at historic low. India's real rates are among the most negative in the world. What does this mean? What is negative real interest rate? Essentially, it is inflation minus the interest rate that you earn in the bank. Our bank savings cannot even meet our inflation. Money is depreciating sitting in banks. Money is incentivized to take risks and find assets that are cheaply priced. So obviously this money is going to move away from the financial savings and into the assets that can appreciate. Doesn't matter what happens on a very small period of time, but over a 3, 4, 5-year period of time, this money, if it wants to beat inflation, will have to enter risk assets. And to top it, India truly did well in managing COVID and its balance sheet. Rewind 8 months back, this was supposed to be the worst of lockdown, smallest of fiscal stimulus, and everyone was sure Indian markets are going to underperform. But what actually happened? We did way better job of getting COVID under control. Now the vaccination has begun. The return of mobility is going to be way faster than anybody expects. And contrast this with what is happening in UK and US. They are still going through really, really tough time. Now, government also did not provide too much of a stimulus. So at that point of time, government was criticized for not doing enough. Now, not many people expected the economy to revive too much of a stimulus. But well, here it is, it has done. The sheer latent demand of India's economy has come into play and the recovery has been faster than expected. Now, on top of that, the government has the ability to stimulate it further if need be. They can borrow too. They have room for borrowing extra if they need to. Now, I find this to be very similar to the 2003-2008 cycle. In fact, I would go a step ahead and say that the cycle is even better than the 2003-08 cycle. 2003-08 cycle lasted for 21 quarters of economic expansion, and the average GDP growth was 9.1%. At the beginning of that cycle, the repo rate was 4.5%. There was a drop of 220 bips in US 10-year yield. There was 0.9 trillion liquidity injection. Money supply liquidity was running in a deficit of 2 lakh to 4 lakh crore, and fiscal deficit was at 9.3%. Now today the repo rate is at 4%. There has been a 225 bips drop in 10-year yield. Almost 8-9 trillion of injection. Today we are running a 6 lakh crore kind of a liquidity surplus. The combined fiscal GDP fiscal deficit is at 12.5%. The commodities are priced lower. In fact, adjusted for inflation, commodities are way lower. Brent crude is at $50. Banking NPA are lower. Tier 1 ratio is higher. Corporate leverage is lower. Corporate tax rate is lower. And we have many opportunities to take advantage of. I'm rushing through it, but essentially what I'm trying to say is the financial condition, the macro indicators at this point of time are even better than what they were at the beginning of the 2003 cycle. People keep worrying about a global crash. It is counterproductive to be constantly looking for a crash. To be a good investor, you have to be optimistic. No one can actually buy when the market actually crashes. For example, March 2020. I don't see too many people who can say that I liquidated my portfolio in Jan and I've deployed everything in March. Only fools and liars can manage to do that. It is easier to predict bottoms than to predict top. But it suffices to say that we might be stretched at this point of time, but we are nowhere near a crash. There have been only 4 significant market crashes in the past 30 years in Indian market, and we are nowhere near the 5th one. So please stop worrying about a crash. Take a look at what happened in the corrections in 2003 to 2008 bull market. There were 8 corrections in almost 5-year bull market, ranging from 9% to 33%, and 1 week to 4 months. So there are many other minor dips which is very difficult to spot on the chart as well. Maybe we are in one such correction, and maybe this will be not a 10% correction, but a 15 or a 20% correction. Take advantage of that. Do not worry about a crash. We are not anywhere close to a bubble, and we should be worrying about. With this, I would just like to conclude that there might be pocket of bubbles in US market, but the rest of world is far away from it. The economic expansion phase is still right at the beginning. And there is a great wealth creation opportunity from 3 to 5 years point of view. India is witnessing the birth of a new bull market. To take you through this slide, there was a struggling economy. COVID crashed it, and we reached a point of maximum pessimism, which forced Government of India and RBI to start being supportive, which led to a V-shaped recovery, and the earnings upgrade cycle has just begun. So it is only a 10-month-old bull market. We will have corrections along the way, but we are nowhere close to a top. Thank you so much. We are barely out of the pessimism. So as John Templeton says, the bull markets are born on pessimism, grow on skepticism, mature on optimism, and die on euphoria. We are barely out of the pessimism phase, and people are looking for euphoria. I would call this as skepticism phase at best. Economy is far, far away from peaking out. Thank you so much. We will just take a quick 20-second break, and we will get our guest, Sri Madhuji, on board, and we will start the interview. Thank you. So let me introduce Sri Madhusudan Kela. He is one of the most well-known and seasoned investors in Indian capital markets. He really needs no introduction. From becoming the largest fund house, to being the best fund manager, to reaching the pinnacle of corporate world, to being profiled by leading business magazines all over the world. He has been there and done it all. He is an important invitee to strategic industry forums, leadership media panels, and policy think tanks, and known for candidly sharing his views on the host of macro policy, thematic, and investment related events. So I am not going to go through his resume and achievements. That is already out there for everyone to see. But I am going to talk a little bit about him as a person and his venture, which is still relatively unknown to most. Madhuji holds a master's degree in finance management from Mumbai University. He has risen from a vernacular, which is essentially a non-English medium background, to successfully pursue his dream. And he loves mentoring passionate entrepreneurs and investors to do the same. Known for his passion and love for investing, Madhuji seeks the same passion and hunger to win in the entrepreneurs and the individual that he backs. Madhuji has a knack about him on how to identify money-making opportunities like no one other that I know of. Bouncing back from tough times against all odds is also a personality trait that I admire in him. I have not seen a bigger go-getter in life. He is very persistent till he accomplishes what he set out to achieve. He does not take no for an answer. In fact, he finds his way around to opening doors which most of us would not even know existed. After a 17-year stint at the Reliance Group, where he was a key decision maker, Madhuji went entrepreneurial in Jan 2018. He is the founder of MK Ventures, a boutique proprietary investment vehicle focused on alpha opportunities across sectors. Now, MK Ventures essentially started out as a family office for Madhuji. However, the ambition is to scale it up into a differentiated investment platform that can collaborate with leading institutional and individual investors globally. With that, let me welcome him. Madhu Bhaiya, thank you for doing this. We at ValueQuest are incredibly grateful to you for doing this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you for that candid introduction. I'm humbled by what you spoke. Thank you you so much. Let me, at the onset, only admit you made a brilliant presentation. It was very enriching for me as well. You know, a lot of data points which you spoke about. I don't know what value can I more add to what you have already spoken, but anyway, we shall try our best.
Okay. So before we get into the interview, let me just give a disclaimer over here. So that we can have a more free-wheeling chat. It is safe to assume that all stocks or ideas that we are going to discuss over here, Madhuji and or ValueQuest, both might or might not have vested interest in them. It is safe to assume that we can act contrary to whatever we might discuss over here. Use of company names is more for illustration purpose than as an advice to buy or sell any stock. Please consult your advisor before taking any action. We want to make this chat as candid and as freewheeling as possible. So, so do not take this as, construe this as a financial advice. So let's get into the question. So let me start with the first one.
That was very, very useful.
Sorry, you want to add anything?
No, that was very, very useful. I think I have come here more as a friend of a Dharamsi family than anything else. So let's make the most out of this, and please consult your advisor before you act on what we are speaking or saying.
Right. So with that out of the way, let's dive right in. So Madhu bhaiya, ये क्या समझने का? I mean, Tesla is bigger than the entire auto industry. Robinhood traders are partying, and Reddit users and intraday traders are taking hedge funds for a ride. They are taking them to the cleaners and stocks like GameStop. These are crazy signs, and crazy mania is playing out. Should we be worried about this? How should we be looking at it? I know I made a presentation about it, but it would be great to share your views on that.
So Ravi, honestly, you know, there are pockets wherein one has to worry about what is happening, right? But everything is unprecedented. As you rightly pointed out in your presentation, the amount of money which is being printed is unprecedented. The amount of stimulus which is being provided in short time is unprecedented. The interest rate, the way they are unprecedented. There is $18 trillion of debt out there, which is trading in a negative territory worldwide. That is also unprecedented. So we are, in more than one sense, living in unprecedented times. And I wouldn't say that there is no bubble. There is clear bubble in some of the asset classes, whether they are those SaaS-related technology companies in the US, or the Bitcoin, as you rightly pointed, or in fixed income, or in select technology companies which are very, very large also. Hey, in my lifetime, we hear fear buying a company at 30p, right? There are so many companies which are trading at 30 times revenue in the US, or even more. So these are clearly, you know, we are in some sectors, in some geographies, we are clearly in a stage where there is a bubble. But Ravi, you know, we never know when is it going to be pricked out, and are we, just because we are in a bubble stage, is there going to be immediate crash? If we go by the history, that is the most difficult question to answer.
Right. हाँ, but भैया जब ऐसा signs are all around, one is always worried. How much can you trust the liquidity? You know, someday some event might happen and it might suck out all the liquidity. How to get comfortable in this kind of a scenario that no, there are opportunities out there?
रवि, आपने बराबर प्रेजेंटेशन में बोला और मैं वो रिपीट करूंगा, वो एक दिन सबको मरना है, उसके चक्कर में जीना थोड़ी छोड़ देंगे यार.
Absolutely.
वो कब आएगा किसको पता है, you know. और इंडिया में ये अपन ने जो भी बात किया, मेरे घर में तो कोई बिटकॉइन नहीं है, मेरे ख्याल से आपके कोई इन्वेस्टर के घर में कोई बिटकॉइन नहीं है, किसी के पास ऐसा 30, 40 टाइम्स रेवेन्यू का शेयर नहीं है, किसी के पास उस टाइप का यूफोरिक इन्वायरमेंट इंडिया में तो नहीं लगता है. और ऑब्वियसली जब वो ग्लोबली ब्रेक आउट होगा, वी विल नॉट बी आइसोलेटेड. बट आई एम सेइंग, यू नो, आई जस्ट गिव यू अ स्मॉल एनेक्डोटल स्टोरी. When I came in 2003-4, starting to manage money, a very, very wise friend of mine told me that, boss, ये ऑयल का भाव ना $30 का $45 हो गया है. Be careful. $1 इंडिया का बढ़ने से कुछ 700-800 बिलियन डॉलर का इम्पैक्ट होता है, राइट? ये बहुत खतरनाक चीज है, बी केयरफुल। अपने कोई ऑयल वेल ज्यादा समझता नहीं था, मैंने एक कान से सुना दूसरे कान से निकाल दिया। दूसरा, अब वो इन्वेस्टर मेरे से इतना 100 टाइम ज्यादा वाइज था ना, तो वो देखता रहा। द फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर इज वो ऑयल 45 वाला $150 चला गया और स्टॉक मार्केट 3000 वाला 20,000 हो गया। So, there is no end to the fear which you can put in your mind. अभी मेरे ख्याल से रवि भाई म्यूजिक चालू है, पार्टी जोर में है, अभी ज्यादा स्केयर करके फायदा नहीं है। एंड आई थिंक इट विल बी विजिबल। वी आर नॉट, इतना अपन थोड़ी कोई स्टॉक मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करके गंगोत्री में जा रहे हैं कि अपने को देखना नहीं है। हम तो रोज देख ही रहे हैं ना यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है। एंड देयर विल बी मोर देन इनफ साइंस अवेलेबल एंड देयर विल बी पीपल लाइक यू हु विल कम एंड शाउट कि भैया ये बिगड़ गया है, क्रैक हो गया।
No, as you very rightly said, everybody has an expiry date, but you cannot stop living today in the fear that you are going to die one day.
Yes, absolutely. So
I think it cannot be summarized more beautifully than that.
To be honest, I'll be very watchful of my portfolio कि कहीं पे अपने घर में भी बिटकॉइन या अंदर या बिटकॉइन के स्वरूप में कोई शेयर तो नहीं घुस रहे हैं। Are we not getting carried away by only stories? And one has to do much more work, because undoubtedly there has been huge return which is being made in between March and now. There is no doubt about it. So we have to be very vigilant, very careful, undoubtedly, but we have to participate.
So अगर जब भी यूएस में बबल पॉप होगा तब इंडिया में भी उसका असर तो आएगा ही। So at that point of time, what kind of action you would recommend taking when that happens? I'm not putting a timeline to it.
So again, अगर ये कंडीशन कैसा रहता है उसके ऊपर भी डिपेंड करेगा, और वहां पे किस टाइप का क्रैश आता है उसके ऊपर भी डिपेंड करेगा। सी इन 1999 2000 time when the technology burst happened, that one sector was so powerful and large enough that actually it created nervousness in the entire market, right? If you remember, उस समय महिंद्रा एंड महिंद्रा भी घट गया, टाटा स्टील भी घट गया, और हिमाचल और ग्लोबल भी घट गया। आई एम टॉकिंग इंडियन मार्केट, सो एग्जैक्टली दैट इज व्हाट हैपेंड इन द यूएस मार्केट आल्सो। बट दिस टाइम आई डोंट सी दैट काइंड ऑफ ए सिनेरियो, बिकॉज जहां पे वैल्यू वो तो बढ़ा ही नहीं है तो घटेगा कितना। So to be very carefully calibrating our portfolio if at all that crash comes in, and we'll have to pass the time. I wouldn't give up on India or Indian equities just because there is a crash in technology stocks in the US.
Right. So आज से 6-8 महीने पहले everyone was thinking that we have the strictest of lockdown and smallest of fiscal stimulus. ये क्या कर रही है government? I mean, shouldn't we be, if not now, then when will we provide the fiscal stimulus? So how do you look at that? I mean, but what has at that point of time तो लग रहा था कि अरे India is going to be the worst performing market, but that has not happened. What has happened is India has been the best performing market in the last 10-11 months. So what happened in your opinion? क्या हुआ?
Honestly बोलूं रवि, ये क्या है, अपना एक स्पिरिचुअल कंट्री है। नो वन विल बिलीव, एंड आई एम टॉकिंग इन अ सीरियस सेंस, इधर 33 करोड़ देवी देवता है, राइट? सम big force has worked in favor of India. Apart from the government, Modi ji, they have done absolutely a phenomenal job. China ने बीमारी दिया, India ने वैक्सीन दे दिया. I think our overall image of about India has gone leaps and bounds. Trust me. And इसका बेनिफिट 3-6 महीने में नहीं होएगा। इसका बेनिफिट मे बी, यार 97% रिकवरी किधर नहीं है भाई। यहाँ 138 करोड़ का पॉपुलेशन वाले देश में जहाँ एक घर से देखो तो 25 घर का दूसरे घर का बालकनी दिखता है, यहाँ पे अगर कोविड कंट्रोल होके इन मैटर ऑफ 9 months, if the numbers are less than 2 lakh, this is my biggest reason for bullishness. I am telling you, the world, according to me, will look at India in a very differentiated manner. Whatever we have done, whether it is partially grace of God or a sound policies adopted by us, or our immunity, रोड छाप का पानी पूरी खा के अपना immunity इतना strong हो गया है that it didn't actually impact us as much as impacted the whole world और यहाँ पे इतना ठंड नहीं है, variety of reasons it could be there. I am just speaking, keeping my fingers crossed that it should get over. I wouldn't say it is over even now. Let's say we are like 3 months before when the second peak happened. At that time, we followed it up 2-3 months. We have to still keep our fingers crossed. Most likely, we have 100% passed on the worst. But if we manage this, Ravi, and if we are able to provide vaccination to the world, even to smaller countries, I think the amount of goodwill which we will earn in the heart of those countries' people, to my mind, is unthinkable today. बहुत अगर आप किसी को जीवन देते हो ना रवि, उसका उसका कोई इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू नहीं है. I know that my parents are old. My mother is 84, my father is 89, and we are looking to vaccinate them. Now, clearly, it's not them. Fortunately, they've been saved. So I'm saying this is what is happening with millions of people. And if India is going to provide that vaccination for those millions of people who are sitting outside the world and be friendly to them, ये गुडविल का बहुत अपने को बेनिफिट मिलने वाला है आने वाले डिकेड्स में और सालों में.
Absolutely, very well said. I mean, I think India का P सिर्फ 5 से मल्टीपल से बढ़ जाना चाहिए only because of what we have achieved over here. We are in good books of majority of the world.
So we don't know. You can already see 5-6-10 से बढ़ चुका है. कई जगह पे दिखता है ना, बहुत पेंट कंपनी in India being valued at 2.5 lakh crores. कहीं तो कहीं गुडविल काम कर रहा है ना दोस्त.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, but so यहाँ तक तो recovery was without much stimulus. Okay, there was some monetary policy help and some targeted stimulus at the lowest strata of the economy. But for the economy to do very well, to grow double digits from here, barring the base effect of this year, do you think we still need to do more? The government needs to do more. The RBI needs to do more to ensure that the economy gets permanently on a higher trajectory?
Again, Ravi, I would say one thing that government has done an extremely smart job, unlike in other countries. Let's say जैसे UK को अगर आप देखो, स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल लेके आपने $500 बिलियन का नया डेट ले लिया और सब आदमियों को पैसा बांट दिया. तो आदमी ने पिज्जा खाया, दारू बियर पिया, वो पैसा खत्म हो गया, राइट? तो दे आर बोरोड फ्रॉम द फ्यूचर. How much far in the future we don't know. 10 years का बोरो कर लिया, 20 साल का बोरो कर लिया, we don't know. Or that stimulus is still going on in America, even in UK. India ने वैसा कुछ नहीं किया है. We did provide some amount of stimulus, as you said, but we have not borrowed from our future. That's very good, and the way it is got tackled is phenomenal. Let's look at what the government actually has done, Ravi. We have actually opened up supply side of the economy. So this crisis actually is being used to implement reforms which are being pending, and majority have seen through without making much noise. So if you look at labor law, you and I have been in the market for 30 years, and we've been talking about relaxing this labor law. Labor law आके चला गया, किधर noise ही नहीं है. अपना इतना बड़ा mining sector अपन ने open up कर दिया. That coal is now today allowed that you can commercially mine it and sell it in an open market. So बहुत सारा supply side को जिसको open up करना था ना, वो open up हुआ है, and that is the only way we have, because we don't have a dollar printing machine that we can print billions of dollars. However, having said that, and I have huge respect for RBI. The way they have handled and tackled the entire situation in the last 9 months, 1 year, hats off here. Not only lowering the interest rate, enabling a benign liquidity environment, making sure that, as you rightly pointed out, avoid crises like Yes Bank and IL&FS, and from time to time appear in front of people and give confidence. So RBI will have to just, I don't know what more can we ask for from RBI. RBI may have to just continue to do this good work. From the government side, I'm sure they are more aware and more eager that the economy bounces back. And I am sure they will do everything which is needed in the constraints of the fiscal prudence. Now, a lot of people may argue, अरे सबका deficit 20% हो रहा है, 20% वहाँ सब जगह contraction हो रहा है. Why India can't give up? I think knowing Modi ji and knowing what he has done in Gujarat, and he is a bigger businessman than all of us, I don't think the government is going to open up the purse freely and say कि चलो सबको बांटते जाओ. As I said, it is happening in other countries. So India, according to me, will do its best to make sure that we go through the revival and we have a good revival. But I don't think big stimulus in the form of monetary injection is coming here anytime soon.
So if that is what your assessment is of what RBI and government will do, then what kind of bull market can we expect over the next 3 to 5 years?
रवि मेरे भाई, इंडिया का बुल मार्केट है ना, ये कोई दूसरे कारण से आ रहा है. लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड इट. In last 20 years, you and I have not made money because RBI and government of India actually gave us money or gave us stimulus. Far from it. Right? इधर तो जब भी अपने जेब में कुछ पैसा आता है वो निकालने का कोशिश करते हैं rather than देने के. Right? So Indian story, actually bull market is more bottom up. Like we have to be able to identify the right entrepreneurs, the right sectors, and really have the patience to back them. मेरा 2 point है which I want to make here. One, एक ना ये 30-40% लोग जो सब सेक्टर में कोमा में चले गए. You pick up any sector, whether it is real estate, whether it is infrastructure, even in an industry like pharma, you've seen so many of these Chandigarh-based companies, closing down. So, वो consolidation जो है ना रवि, that is what is reflecting now in good balance sheet, in good business models. That is what is reflecting. So we are seeing suddenly they being more competitive. They are able to do. When did we think a company like Asian Paint can have 50% growth in EBITDA? Unthinkable, right? That is what happened last quarter. A company like Havells, doing 70-80% growth. Where is it coming from? It is coming from A, obviously the demand lag, but B, obviously it is coming from unorganized to organized. And कुछ लोग जो कोमा में चले गए, and they have vacated that space. So today you have such a paradoxical situation in India, जिसको मिल रहा है 4% ब्याज में, 4.5% ब्याज में 3-3 साल का पैसा मिल रहा है, और किसी आदमी के पास 3-3 गुना रियल एस्टेट का कोलेट्रल है, उसको 20% ब्याज में पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है. Right? So what I am trying to say that this bull run will be about these people, about these opportunities, about being able to spot a guy who basically have above par governance. The balance sheet is strong. They have a business model strong, ethically very strong. And अपना काम हो जाएगा बॉस. मैं बोल रहा हूँ इंडेक्स किधर भी जाए, अगले 5-10 साल के लिए अपने पास बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी होगा bottom up where we can make money.
So what you are saying is that there are still opportunities out there जहाँ पे 10, 20, 30 गुना पैसा over the next 5 years बन सकता है.
बनेगा ही भाई, मुझे लगता है बनेगा ही.
Right. So that is my cue to get into कहाँ बनेगा, which are these sectors, and I'm gonna start with your favorite sector, which we all know. You have been a very, very vocal bull on pharma, and you have identified some of the best performing stocks in the sector. I mean, I remember talking to you about Divi's when the company used to be less than 1,000 crore market cap, and today this company is going to do almost 2,000 crore plus kind of PAT. What a story it has been. And I mean, I can never get over it, the fact that how you identified it and how you persisted with it. So for the benefit of audience, I'm just going to get into a little bit of story. So before the IPO was about to come in Divi's, Madhuji wanted to meet the promoter, Mr. Madhusudan Divi, but he was very shy, media shy. He was not willing to meet. Somehow Madhuji found out that he is traveling to London by a business class flight. He took a ticket right next to him. He sat with him, took a 10-hour flight and came back in the very next flight. And he spent those 10 hours understanding the person's psyche, understanding the business, and understanding what kind of an opportunity it was. And he bought 10% of the company on day one of the listing. And that today if he was still holding, it would be worth 10,000 crores, that one particular bet. So a 20 crore bet turned into 10,000 crore bet in less than 20 years. Mind blowing. And hats off, sir. I mean, I can never get over this.
Chalta hai, Ravi. All of us have our own success stories to tell, and I had one in the form. I think you guys have also done a brilliant job over the years identifying so many multi-baggers. But this particular story is very, very near to my heart, and it's worked out really well. Ravi, I'll tell you honestly, candidly. क्या है ना दोस्त, मेरे को बहुत ज्यादा इधर समझ होना भी तकलीफ का काम है. If I got into specific product details, अभी अच्छा क्या नेफ्रोफ्लॉक्सिन क्या है, कितना बड़ा मार्केट साइज है, ये कितना इसका मार्केट शेयर है, नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर क्या आएगा, पिछला क्वार्टर क्या हुआ, अभी मार्जिन क्या है, नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर में मार्जिन क्या होगा. I think we are blessed to have got our broad guidance about markets from Bhaiya and from people like Radhakishan ji. That मेरे को उस समय समझ में आ गया और मेरे पास ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं था, तो मैं I persisted with the entrepreneur. I persisted on the softer skills more than that. You know, is he passionate? Is he hungry? Will he want to make a big company? Will he share with me? Will he issue innumerous warrants? Will he come to equity market every 3 years and say that I want to raise money? Will he do unnecessary acquisitions? So every year as a religion, I met him twice. Till the time I was in Reliance till 2017, I still like to meet him at least once in a year. Those are my questions. I never asked him what is next quarter, next year. Never. And when this, Ravi, when this US FDA happened in Divis, stock was down to 500 rupees and it has appreciated 8 times in last 2 years. इतना लोगों ने conference call कराया, I can't even tell you. So many people called me, ये गया अभी इतना problem है, integrity problem है, this, that. And a lot of my friends who are abroad on my, basically we discuss stock ideas and they bought huge quantities. So some of them called me, like, they hold percentage equity. See, I told him only one. That this is the crux of the story. That's why I'm taking 2 minutes time extra. That the fact of the matter is what cheater कौन है, किसका integrity का आप problem बोलोगे. जो आदमी ने 20 साल में आके 1 रुपया आपसे लिया नहीं, you think he can cheat? जिसने 4 करोड़ रुपया पब्लिक से लिया है आज तक के और 10,000 करोड़ का क्यूमुलेटिव कैश फ्लो बना के दिया है, you think he can cheat? Can there be an integrity issue with that kind of a person? So you have to have that broad faith. And it got so much validated. It's like Guinness Book of World Record, wherein in 8 months' time, an import alert got averted and the company was put back on the farm. I have not seen it. I've been tracking this sector for last 20 years. I have not seen a parallel example.
Absolutely. And as you very, very rightly said, and you are being humble over here when you say, मेरे पास दिमाग नहीं है. It takes more intelligence, it takes more wisdom to ignore the noise than it takes to understand each and every, nooks and crevices of everything. And as you rightly put, we have been blessed to have the guidance of Rakesh ji and Radhakishan ji. And as Rakesh ji keeps saying, make investment an act of wisdom. Don't get into too much nitty-gritty. So brilliant. So anyway, coming back to the question. So pharma has been underperforming since last few months, and people seem to be worried that what happened in the last couple of quarters is not sustainable. It is more bunching up of orders because of COVID. How would you respond to that?
ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं लगता है रवि. कोई कंपनी, कोई सेक्टर एक बीमारी से थोड़ी बन जाता है. Regardless of how big the disease is. So, which means these companies should not have existed before, right? Then they were still making hundreds of crores of rupees of profit. And the companies in which I have invested in, I keep asking them this question: what percentage of your earning is coming out of COVID? In some cases it is 1%, some cases it is 2%, some cases it is 5%. But I don't think these companies' fortunes are going to change because of COVID. But I think what the world is missing, Ravi, it's an unfortunate situation that this COVID has happened, and we are not able to comprehend how long-lasting impact it is going to have on lives of people. So many people are going through depression. अब अभी वो depression को ठीक तो करना पड़ेगा ना, because of this COVID. So I don't think that COVID per se is going to evaporate earning. If at all, it will only have a positive impact. People will be more vigilant about their health. People will invest and care more about health insurance. I don't think, I don't agree at all with this statement. Having said that, अगर आप बोलते हो यार अभी रिटर्न नहीं बना, अभी रोज थोड़ी रिटर्न बन सकता है बॉस. टेक फॉर इंस्टेंस कंपनी लाइक लॉरस लैब 20% इक्विटी बिक गया 500 रुपए के भाव पे, आज 2000 का भाव है. अभी रोज रोज बढ़ेगा क्या? और कैसा कोई एक्सपेक्ट भी कर सकता है? 2 महीना भाव नहीं बढ़ा तो बोले भाव नहीं बढ़ता, 3 महीना भाव नहीं बढ़ा तो बोला साइडवेज हो गया. This is the nature of the market. Whenever you have such bulky returns, it will be sideways. There will be some corrections in the market. That doesn't mean ये कोविड का बल्कीनेस हो गया और इसकी वजह से प्रॉफिट आ गया और अभी ये कंपनियां they will be in a degrowth phase. Not at all.
So we are unfortunately in a social media world where instant gratification is what everybody needs. So अभी 2 दिन 2 महीना अगर लॉरस नहीं चलेगा तो कैसे चलेगा?
नहीं बात अभी नहीं वो मैं और आप क्या कर सकते हैं रवि? I would only say that is your opportunity, because fortunately with 30-year experience we know that instant gratification do not have every day in the market, and the people who are expecting it, as they say, either they are extraordinarily smart, जिसको हम हाथ जोड़ सकते हैं, or they are fools.
But honestly, a serious question. You and I both invested in Laurus Labs pretty much around the same time. But how do you hold on to this? I mean, when the basic thesis while investing, हमारा तो thesis था कि ये FY23 में 500 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट करेगा. अब ये FY21 में 800-900 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट करेगा, तो और इसका वैल्यूएशन जो मैंने सोचा था 3-4 साल में हो गया, वो 6 महीने में 8 महीने में उससे भी ज्यादा हो गया. तो how do you continue holding to this and the position becomes so large in your portfolio?
Ravi, again, I would say ignorance is bliss here. So I am not, I think you understand the chemistry of it very, very well. What product, what segment, what revenue, blah, blah, blah. I will take you to the softer aspect of this company, right? So if you meet Dr. Satya, you get a real comfort कि ये serious businessman है, एक इसमें hunger है. He is someone who understands chemistry really, really well. Right? He is born and brought up. उनका जो भी track record है, there are private equity investors who trusted him. They made money and they have exited. And he is pursuing a business model. Right? He is doing a right kind of capital allocation. He is not going overboard. He is not saying that just because my market cap is up five times, I need to raise equity capital, or I need to do unnecessary acquisitions, or I need to go berserk because of my success. So I think all the softer aspect and the hunger which I want to see in entrepreneur is there with him. Now, what life will throw. Did you know in Laurus that they can do this biotech acquisition 6 months back? Did he know that he can do it? No. When you reach one destination, new horizons will open up. And when you go from there, then other set of new horizons will open up. And these companies are making serious cash flow, my friend. If you're making 1,000 crore cash flow, your ability to invest into business is phenomenal. So I don't think you and I can predict what will happen to this company 5 years down the line. And again, we live in an era where I told you that 5 years down the line, what valuation, what profit it will make, I don't know. But it is certainly not expensive, even based on the historic earning. Some company which is providing life-saving drug in the time of COVID, on a historic basis, if it is trading at less than 20 times PE multiple, of last quarter earning, right? And then you have, in the same time, you have Airbnb trading at 30 times revenue. तो मैं और तू किधर ये वैल्यूएशन के चक्कर में पड़ेंगे बस, और कहां से हमको समझेगा कि कौन सा क्वार्टर में क्या होने वाला है. We have to take a leap of faith on this entrepreneur, and we have to keep watching. Is he committing any big strategic error? Is he committing any blunder? If that is not the case, then we will have to live with it.
नहीं तो 9-10 महीने पहले तो it was a great time and we lucked out by buying Laurus at that point of time. पर आज के तारीख में अब कहाँ अपॉर्चुनिटी दिख रही है?
अभी है रवि, बहुत अपॉर्चुनिटी है. If you talk about the sector, as I told you, one of my deepest regret, if I call the learning now, Ravi, when I started 2003-4, even at that time I had 2 crores, which I could have invested in DVs. If I did that personally, it would be 1,500 or 1,200 crores. The 2 crore would have become 1,200 crores. But I didn't do it. At that time, maybe I was not wise enough. Maybe I thought I'm too smart, that I can sell DVs, I can buy X, and then I can sell that X and I can buy Y. So that is the regret. So this time around, I'm not going to commit that mistake. Rightly or wrongly, I don't know. Only time will prove whether it was wise or not. So this time I'm not going to be outsmart, that if I've got a winner in my hand, just because it has appreciated a lot in 3 quarters, I should just sell it off. So that is about pharmaceutical sector in general. Then you talk about the opportunities. So my bias, more hunch and value of experience, is more towards value sectors than towards these euphoric sectors. And in those euphoric sectors, I would include even some of the companies which are only based on quality are getting valued disproportionately. Obviously they should also form some portion of your portfolio. But my bias is there clearly towards value, my friend. Last 6-9 months, we have seen strong recovery in earnings in some of these value companies, whether they belong to PSU sector, whether they belong to banks, whether they belong to real estate, whether they belong to engineering sectors. So we are seeing clear recovery of earning, and they, even if you take, let's say, Nifty as a barometer. So pre-COVID, what Nifty was at 12,000. Some of these companies are trading at significantly lower valuation, even in that pre-COVID era. So I think you will have to take your pick. You made such a brilliant point about the affordability, which I was not aware on the real estate front. And again, with full disclosure, let me say 2 things. We all made decent amount of money in the last real estate sector between 2003 and 2008. In 2003, real estate used to be less than 1% of the overall market cap. In 2007-8, it went up to 7-8% of the overall market cap. 13 years later, is back to below 1%. After all the real estate stocks have gone up maybe 70, 80, 100% from the bottom. We are still at maybe 1 or 1.2%, right? फिर 13 साल का मंदी खत्म हुआ है, अभी माल बिकने लगा है. When I go and meet my friends, everyone जो 2 बेडरूम में रहता था कोविड की वजह से उसको 3 में जाने का है, 3 में रहता था उसको 4 में जाने का है, जिसका यहाँ पे घर है उसको एक आउट हाउस लेने का है. तो clearly we can see some level of demand revival in that sector. But we don't know what will happen after 3 or 5 years and how much these companies appreciate. But there clearly would be an opportunity here, and this is something which needs to be followed very, very carefully. The other thing, Ravi, what was present in 2003-4 for this sector? Low interest rate, significantly lower prices, low demand even in 2003 phase, lower inflation. All those conditions are present today also. And on top of that, you have had RERA, you have had significant erosion of competition. That Madhukela developer thing which was there in 2008 has gone. right? So there are in every big market there are only 10 or 10 developers which are left. So I am quite positive on sectors. I just illustrated by real estate, but I'm quite positive on the value side of the market.
तो भैया अगर रियल एस्टेट खेलना है तो आई मीन शुडंट वी कैसे खेलने का, डेवलपर लेने का, एक्चुअल रियल एस्टेट ले लेने का, या तो रियल एस्टेट एंसिलरीज लेने का, होम इम्प्रूवमेंट काइंड ऑफ स्टफ?
आई थिंक यू हैव टू हैव कॉम्बिनेशन. मेरे को एक्चुअल लेने का तो अपना ना समझ है ना जिगरा है, यू नो. तो हमको तो बेसिकली स्टॉक्स में ही खेलना है रवि. लॉट ऑफ दीज कंपनीज आर स्टिल अवेलेबल at maybe fraction of their actual value even now. I would say then agar aap unka NAV calculate karoge, even they are still available at fraction of the value. So we have to just take a leap of the faith, and you know, somehow I feel more confident because because when I look at the prices and the way the markets are behaving, clearly there are no earnings as of now, but the prices are showing a very different picture altogether.
Right. No, so in the previous real estate cycle, there was a lot of corporate governance deficit. There were a lot of complex structures. There was a trust deficit with the promoter, and we didn't. It was a new shiny thing. We didn't know how to value this. So you think in this particular cycle, we have overcome those hurdles, and यहाँ से it will be a cleaner run as compared to the past?
In some cases, yes, Ravi. मेरे को क्या लगता है ना, इंडिया में सब एंटरप्रेन्योर ने इतना दुख का टाइम देखा है ना. फर्स्ट टाइम बहुत अपना हिस्ट्री में, अपना करियर में अपन देख रहे हैं पहली बार कितने सारे लोग जेल चले गए यार. यू नो, इसके पहले कोई एंटरप्रेन्योर जेल गया था क्या? तो मुझे लगता है वो जो डर है ना ऑफ डूइंग समथिंग वेरी वेरी ग्रॉसली रॉन्ग is there in the mind of everyone, whether you are an investor or whether you are an entrepreneur or whether you are a trader. So I think some people would have definitely crossed that hurdle of grossly mismanaging the balance sheet. And हमको क्या चाहिए? हमको 25 कंपनी थोड़ी खरीदना है रवि, which is the point which you made. Can you find 3 or 5 companies which you can trust and that they will not do anything grossly stupid? I think the answer is yes.
So which is your pick in the real estate, if you can share with us?
Ravi, let's not talk stock specific. I don't have a problem in sharing, to be honest with you. But ये क्या है, कल कुछ चेंज हो जावे ना, you and I will not be here to interview. बोलेगा यार अपना माल तो लिया, बेच के चला गया और हमको बता के चला गया, हम अटक गए. So but I think I've given you enough hint. We've run through the full thesis. There are not more than 20 companies which are listed. So it's not very difficult to find out at least 2 or 3 big bets which will run properly.
No, I absolutely appreciate that. And doesn't matter even if you had given the name, nobody will be able to make the kind of money that you make, because you can borrow the idea but you cannot borrow the conviction.
Exactly. And these are very early days. I don't think that abhi koi aisa ho gaya ki ye chalega hi chalega. See, we have to keep monitoring. We have to keep monitoring, making sure 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter, 4 quarter. जैसे भैया बोलते हैं, जब तेजी होती तो बहुत बड़ी होती है. अभी तो हम बॉटम से निकल रहे हैं, राइट? तो और ये वैलिडेट होता जाएगा. आई विल हैव टू स्टिल मॉनिटर कि अगला 3 महीना 6 महीने में रियल एस्टेट का सेल्स, वेदर इट वाज ओनली अ पेंट अप डिमांड व्हिच हैपेंड बिकॉज ऑफ कोविड, or whether this demand is going to continue, whether builders are continue to be sensible कि अभी ऐसा नहीं कि demand आ गया 20% भाव बढ़ा दो, whether they will continue to sell the old inventory, the number of new projects which are come. So there is still a lot of work. It's not that ये already a multi-bagger sector है, but it is something which should be definitely be on the radar of investors. And if you are an investor, you have to definitely invest in 1 or 2 companies and monitor it very closely.
And real estate has such a wider implication for the economy. For every dollar spent in real estate, it generates 7-8 times kind of a multiplier effect in the economy.
Exactly. And that is again what is visible ना रवि. आज इंडिया में 25-30 हजार रुपया स्टील का भाव बढ़ गया, and somewhere it is getting consumed, right? From the bottom जो भाव बढ़ा है, and we are not importing. Somewhere it is getting consumed. Somewhere even this cement is getting consumed. I'm not saying it is all going into real estate. But as you said, some of these sectors are clearly benefiting out of the improved demand in the scenario of this sector.
Right. So you mentioned that you would want to have some percentage of your portfolio in growth stocks and some, but majority of it will be towards value stocks. So what percentage, in your opinion, would you deploy in, so to say, the bubbly stocks or the growth stocks where the market is giving crazy multiples at this point of time?
So I would say, Ravi, I'm not purely looking only at value because that could be a trap. So I'm clearly looking at value stocks where I can see clear earning growth. तो अदरवाइज वो ट्रैप पे तो जाना नहीं है, बस सस्ता देख के तो कुछ लेना नहीं है. एटलीस्ट अपना स्प्रेडशीट और अपन जो भी बनाते हैं उसमें दिखना चाहिए ना भाई कि अगला 2-3 साल के अंदर कुछ ग्रोथ आने का पोटेंशियल है, तभी तो री रेटिंग होएगा ना. अदरवाइज यू कुड बाय ए पिलानी इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑल योर लाइफ, बहुत वैल्यू है, बट एंड यू कैन कीप लुकिंग एट द बैलेंस शीट, बट वो वैल्यू तो वैल्यू रह गया ना. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग जस्ट एज एन एग्जांपल. सो आई एम क्लियरली लुकिंग एट कंपनीज जहां पे बहुत वैल्यू है, where I can expect growth. On the other, other side of the market, where the valuations are expensive, you have to still clearly look at some of the companies. Some of them which are getting newly listed. You might get an opportunity there. Like there was this company which got listed called Root Mobile. Now it doesn't look crazily expensive even in this environment, right? जितना अपने को समझ में आता है, it is not trading, certainly not trading at 30 times revenue. It may be trading at 30 times profit. And we have to look at things in the context of what is happening in the world. I can't sit down in Bandhan and decide कि मैं 20 से ज़्यादा पी नहीं दूंगा. अगर बाजार पूरा 100 का पी देने को तैयार है, तो at best my quest could be that वो मैं 100 की जगह 60 वाला खोजता हूँ या 50 वाला खोजता हूँ. So that portion of the portfolio, my only limited point is that whatever risk I can curtail, and within that, whatever best ideas I can find, I should still write them. Like that again, we are theoretically discussing. Take like for instance, consumer. Like ITC as a company has not performed. It's been literally a dog for 5-7 years. So I would watch. Can there be a trigger out there? Will the company management finally wake up and say that we have not created any value in spite of such strong cash flows? Do we need to do demerger of ITC? Do we need to do all value creative exercises? Do we need to do buyback? I'm sure these questions are not only for you and me to answer. Hundreds of investors will be asking them, and at some point of time, either they will do something and answer those questions. And when the trigger comes, that might be a perfect stock to back, right?
Right. So if I were to summarize, what you're saying is that you don't buy stocks because they are cheap, and growth and value are not necessarily two different things. Growth is an integral part of value, and the value gets realized only when the growth triggers arise.
100%, Ravi. Let me just give you an example. Something as a disclosure which we own in our fund, which I own personally also. Let's say take, for instance, Canara Bank, right? This again to just illustrate a point from an educational perspective. If I tell someone that you are buying a public sector bank, वो इतने बुरी नजर से मेरे को देखता है as if I have committed some crime, right? कि जैसे अपन कोई अछूत हो गए कि और हमने कोई जाके बहुत बुरा काम कर दिया है, right? तो look at it यार कि अभी 13 साल हो गया. 2008 में मैंने कैनरा बैंक रिलायंस म्यूचुअल फंड में 800 रुपए में बेचा था. अभी जाके 100 रुपए में QIP हो गया. 250 रुपए का बुक वैल्यू है. 103 रुपए में QIP कर दिया. Right, wrong, merit, demerit, I don't want to get into it. I'm only talking historical number. Today, Canara Bank declared their results. 5,800 crore is 1 quarter pre-operating profit of this quarter. Thoda treasury gain and this, that, let's say round it off to 20,000 crores. 20,000 crore का pre-operating profit है और 20,000 crore का market cap है. Do the simple exercise now. Where is HDFC Bank? Where is ICICI Bank? What is their pre-operating profit? And what is their market cap of the bank? And it may be fashionable to just say कि यार ये PSU पैसा नहीं बनता. जाके रमेश दमानी को पूछो कितना पैसा बनता है PSU में. वो आपको बताएंगे. जाके राकेश झुनझुनवाला को पूछो कितना पैसा बनता है PSU में. वो लोग बताएंगे आपको. ये तो क्या है, सब सीजन की बातें हैं. So I feel that at some point of time, what my bet is, at some point of time, कि 85% provision coverage ratio कर दिया यार. पड़ोसी का भी provide कर दिया है. Right? At some point of time, there will be no requirement for these kind of provisions. And if that 1 year or 6 months or 3 quarters if they surprise on the provisioning that no longer the provisioning is required, and that time the profit after tax could be anything, and you could suddenly you will find that you bought a bank with 2 or 3 PE multiple with 15% ROE.
Right.
So abhi to ye thesis hai bhai. Let me again warn.
Yeah, sure.
It's not an invitation to buy the stock. I just wanted to make sense of our discussion. So I just said this is my thesis. Now whether the thesis will play out, whether if there is going to be a double dip in the economy, the bank would do very badly, and this is why I don't want to recommend. अगर वैसा कुछ दिखेगा तो मैं तो बेच दूंगा.
No, if I were to summarize, what you are saying is essentially companies that were good and became great are being valued as super great.
Yes.
But companies that were gruesome, which are not going to die, have an opportunity to become good, and that is where the outsized return can be made in the next few years.
Absolutely. And I am saying this is exactly what we experienced between 2003 and 2008. Ravi, the reason why our fund actually did so well कि मैंने कोई investment का book ही नहीं पढ़ा boss. So we had no biases. ना हमारा value का bias है, ना हमारा growth का bias है. We all my life have said we are opportunistic investor. हमको किधर opportunity दिखेगा और कहीं पे risk reward दिखेगा ना, we will buy. You know, जिसने वो मोड कोड का सब थ्योरी पढ़ लिया, अब वो बोले यार इधर तो I am just saying the external opportunity is our biggest friend. Are we in a position to recognize it, and are we in a position to say कि यहाँ पे disproportionate risk reward है, and I am out of fashion. Am I willing to put a bet out here? I think they are in for those kind of markets just now. You saw what happened in telco. Again वैसा ही था ना, किसी को आप 100 रुपए में जाके telco बोला होता, जो 15 साल से कुछ पैसा बना नहीं. There was so much skepticism. पर 100 रुपए वाला telco 3 महीने के अंदर 300 हो गया, 4 महीने के अंदर.
Absolutely. So before we move on to the next section, I just wanted one more question. So coincidentally, we seem to be, shareholders in similar companies. So Route Mobile is another one that we invested in on the day of the IPO. Don't you think that technology, if it is getting overpriced in US, then it will get overpriced over here as well? And what are your thoughts on this digital acceleration and adoption?
So clear.
What is the broad thesis?
बहुत अच्छा लगता है रवि. वो अपने किसी ने मेरे को डेटा पॉइंट दिया, अपना digital acceleration has happened 18 years before. But what normally it would have taken 18 years has happened in 9 months. In the digital era, वो किसी के पास hard data था, and he explained to me and the logic. So I'm just going by because he may have done work. So this is here to stay now. I don't think this is just because COVID will be over. Life will go back to pre-COVID level as far as digital experiences are concerned. See, you and I could have never imagined कि ये ऐसा हो सकता है. अभी next time होएगा तो हो सकता है तो मेरे को बुलाएगा physical presence में भी, but you may still do a Zoom interview.
Yeah. No, today we are doing this when we are addressing a 10x audience of what we could have done in a physical space, and at probably 1/10 the cost.
और वो भी रवि होगा ना 2 साल के बाद जब 5G आ जाएगा, maybe this experience again will be very different, right?
Correct.
So digital adoption is here to stay. The technology which is there, which is enabling expansion of industries and companies, is here to stay. So I am saying just because it is expensive in America, just because the companies are expensive, we can't afford to ignore. We can't say only 100% of my portfolio has to be value. So within that basket, wherever we still see that the reward could be disproportionate to the risk which we are taking, and the companies are still at a nascent stage, we have to be able to buy them.
Right. So, but what retail investor or the domestic investor has done, which they always do, is take out money in hoard. In the last 6 months, we have seen more than 1 lakh crore of redemptions from mutual funds when we have had one of the best rallies. And FIIs have poured in money like there's no tomorrow. And India is the market to be owned. So, how do you convince an investor? What do you tell an investor at this point of time who had not seen returns for the last few years, and is suddenly now jittery about losing out his returns?
प्रवीण, मुझे लगता है एक जो sympathetic reason हो सकता है withdrawal, it could be actually need, because clearly COVID has been a crisis for a lot of people, undoubtedly. So there could be, you do all these savings for a time. So if that was not the situation, and if you're only worried because Nifty 15,000 हो गया या index 50,000 हो गया और मेरे को पैसा उठा लेना चाहिए, I am not in that camp. पैसा उठा के तू जाएगा किधर बॉस? ICICI बैंक 4% देता है 1 साल का, और if you are
post tax उससे भी कम,
post tax 2.5% है. If you are an HNI, you have to pay 42% tax on that return, right? तो आप जाओगे किधर? और मैं आपको सच्ची बोलता हूँ, ये अपने समझाने से कोई समझने वाला नहीं है, ये अपने आप सब समझ जाएंगे. तो अपने कितना भी समझाएंगे ना इनको, but here the fact is, people who are listening, I am saying that to beat inflation in India, there is clearly some expected surge in inflation because the way the commodity prices have improved in India, the way even some of the food items have improved, the way the jobs will improve because we are, तो IMF ने भी आके बोल दिया कि 11.5% इंडिया का GDP ग्रोथ कर सकता है. In this environment, to remain invested in bank deposit. See, Ravi, I made this point in some media and I got a lot of feedback and some people even criticized me. This was 6 months back. I repeat that again today. Sometimes the risk may not be only in curtailing the risk preservation may not be only in curtailing the risk. Sometimes the biggest risk might be missing out on an opportunity. आप बोला कि मैंने बैंक में पैसा रख दिया, पिछले 9 महीने में मेरे को कोविड की वजह से घबराहट लगता है. अभी मैं पैसा तो जाके बैंक में रख दिया और यहाँ पता चला 80% वैल्यू क्वेस्ट का पोर्टफोलियो बढ़ गया है. तो आपको जो फिक्स्ड इनकम में रिटर्न आएगा in next 10 years, value quest is generated in 9 months. Now every action you can justify. ये बढ़ गया, कभी घट जाएगा, क्या हो जाता मेरे को पता नहीं है. But the fact of the matter is that you missed out the biggest opportunity of your lifetime to make money in equity, right? अभी मैं बोल रहा हूँ, which was the bigger risk? To invest the money or to save the money in the bank?
So, well, yeah, if we can just get into, you had a wonderful journey, almost spanning 3 decades in the market. If you can just share with us some of your learnings, what are the things that you have learned? So, for example, I mean, there have been some, biggest learnings are usually from our failures. And if you can tell us what were the reasons, what could you have done differently, what have you learned from them?
So coming straight from heart, first thing which I learned is don't believe on the story. Because हम छोटे से गांव से आए, we started, हमारा कोई गुरु नहीं था until I met Rakesh Bhaiya in 1998. Even after that, so कोई भी एंटरप्रेन्योर आके कुछ भी स्टोरी बताता है, कोई भी सेल्समैन आके कुछ भी स्टोरी बताता है ना, आपको उसको कभी भी 100% ट्रस्ट नहीं करने का है. You have to do your diligence. You have to do your work. You have to verify it by external people, because most of the time, this is where you commit a big blunder or big mistake. That you trust someone in the face of it. You don't go deeper. And कोई भी कभी भी fraud होता है ना रवि, because if you can avoid in absolute frauds, then it is very, very hard to lose money over a period of time in these markets. You buy something very good, वो नीचे चला गया 30%, इन्फोसिस भी 40% नीचे चला गया था. तो if you can avoid 2 things, buying into absolute crazy mania or your euphoria, or let's say buying fraudulent companies. So in my life, I have experienced quite a few of them, that we trusted the promoter, we trusted him on a face value, we didn't go deeper. So that will be one thing which I would say that one must avoid. The other learnings, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other learning is that, when you spot a real winner, you have to put disproportionate amount of effort and maybe some unreasonable amount of money behind that idea. So even a wise man like Warren Buffett, has put 30% of his capital in Apple. And we have seen that, the wisest people, even if you speak to Bhaiya, significant amount of his capital was being made in investing into two or three or four companies or five companies, which became very, very successful. The whole world knows about it. My point is that if you are able to identify a real winner, at that time, you have to have the courage. उस समय अगर आप कंसेंसस में जाओगे ना कि मैं भी अच्छा, मैं रवि को पूछता हूँ लॉरस लैब कैसा है, तो रवि चार कारण मेरे को समझा देगा, भैया ये भी चेक कर लो, ये भी चेक कर लो, ये भी चेक कर लो, और फिर you can't build consensus at that point of time. So wherever you can get conviction, if you think you have a winner in hand, do your homework, which is original. And as I said, homework is not only trying to build models or financial model. Homework could be of a different kind. To be honest with you, I must have called 10 people in Hyderabad before investing in Laurus Lab, just to find out the credibility of the person. People who are in the industry, people who are his competitors. None of them spoke badly about him. None of them said that there is any character issue with the promoter, right? So that is the second point which you have to. Third, and the biggest learning is, money is being made when you recognize change in the external opportunity, not when you want to make money, right? Every day we want to have a multi-bagger, but when do multi-baggers come? When you actually recognize change in the external environment, and that change could be in an entrepreneur, like what happened in Escorts. The change could be in the industry, like what is happening today in the digital era. Zoom was the same company. It went up 5 times. If someone could emphasize this in, let's say, February, March of this year, that COVID is going to be a big issue and people will do these meetings over the Zoom. It was a simple thing. It didn't require too much analysis. But when you are able to spot that external opportunity and the big change happening, I think majority of the gains come out of that. And the fourth thing, in the stock market, Ravi, one should never become arrogant. You have to be humble about your success and you have to be paranoid about your failures. And if you are humble about your success, but अभी जैसे मैं बोल दूं कि मैंने X आइडेंटिफाई किया, Y आइडेंटिफाई किया, ये मेरा तेजी नहीं है भाई, मेरा कोई लेना देना नहीं है, सेंट्रल बैंक का तेजी है. उन्होंने 10, 12, 15 ट्रिलियन डॉलर पंप कर दिया. We were fortunate, right time, right person. We just did our homework, made sure that we buy the right company and sit tight on it. So one should, if it gets in my head, अरे बाप रे मैंने क्या stock identify किया, that is the right time I should be looking back to go to Kurud.
Right. No. So if you were to just draw out some differences, you have chosen to give up on managing public money, and now you are managing only your personal money. So what is some of the differences between the two? You have to behave in a certain way when you're managing public money and you're managing public your own money. If you can just, is it a handicap to be managing public money?
I wouldn't say it's a handicap. Both of them have their merits and demerits. So when I used to be in Reliance Mutual Fund, the infrastructure was very large. The amount of people who were working with me, we had a very large team. We had unbeatable access to analysts around the world, unbeatable access to corporates around the world and in India, right? So that had its own advantages. The smaller setup has its own advantages. You are far more nimble. You don't have to show or prove to anyone. You are not under any real big pressure unless you decide to take the pressure. I think you can possibly focus on a fewer opportunities. So what is best is what you are doing and possibly what I am also attempting to do. So we are already advising one fund out of UK. So we become like an advisor. All of our advice is not compulsory implemented, or they are not bound to implement it. So we have to find our sweet spot. So I gave up because I did not want to do it. And to be honest with you, I don't regret it. It's been absolute delight and fun to work in detail on few select investment ideas and opportunities, and we have a very good team. So it's a lot of fun even this side, I would say.
Uh, uh, One question from my end on, bouncing back from really tough times. I have seen you do it, but there comes a point when it seems all is lost, life is over, and I know you have a spiritual inclination as well. If you can give some life advice along with some investing advice on how to cope with times when everything seems lost.
So Ravi, a very good question. When I look at my own journey, let's say we have difficult times. सबके लाइफ में आता है. इट इज नॉट अमिताभ बच्चन के लाइफ में भी ऐसा टाइम एक आ गया था जब उसको अपना बंगला बेचने का हो गया था. सचिन तेंदुलकर का पीठ में इतना दर्द हो गया तो उसको पता ही नहीं लगा कि मैं वापस क्रिकेट खेल पाऊंगा कि नहीं खेल पाऊंगा. राइट. सो एवरी पर्सन, whoever we have seen, people who are very successful, they have gone through their own ups and downs. So we have to look at how they bounced back, and that should be a real inspiration. At least that is for me. So whenever I have I am nowhere near those kind of challenges, but whenever I have a minor challenge in my life, I look at it, am I the last person or am I the first person to face those challenges? And the answer is a resounding no. Absolutely. There were millions of people before me and there will be millions of people after me. The other thing, we have all humble background यार. हम तो 3,000 का पगार से यहाँ चालू किए. नेवी नगर का सर्वेंट क्वार्टर में, that was my first stay. Even after I joined my first job, I used to walk from Nevi Nagar to Nariman Point and I had a salary of 3,000 rupees. Someone who has seen all those days, what is tough time? It can't get tougher than that, right? And third, this has come from me spiritually, Ravi. I consider that I might be among the 1% population in the world who are so lucky. We have intellectual capability, we have a decent place to live, we have decent amount of money, we have very good children, very good family. और वो अभी 99 का कभी 98.8 हो गया या 99.2 हो गया, उसके लिए क्या दुखी होना है यार. And we know, when the external situation will change, we will be able to cope up and bounce back. As I said, if March had continued another 1 year, like what happened in Corona, did you and I knew it 9 महीने के अंदर लाइफ नॉर्मल हो जाएगा? नहीं पता था ना बॉस. अगर 1 साल और नॉर्मल नहीं होता तो आप और मैं क्या कर लेते? How much can you bounce back? But again, you have to have faith that when the situation improves, I will be around and I'll be able to make the maximum out of it. So in my dictionary, Ravi, I never use these words like challenges or give up. वो exist ही नहीं करता है. They are only, अगर पैसा लग गया तो 2 चीज मिलता है. या तो स्टॉक मार्केट में एक्सपीरियंस मिलता है या पैसा मिलता है. अगर आपने पैसा लगाया और पैसे से पैसा कमा लिया तो पैसा मिल गया. अगर आपने पैसा लगाया और पैसा का नुकसान हो गया तो एक्सपीरियंस मिल गया. Both of it is very valuable.
Absolutely. In terms of our market terminology, if I were to say that to make money in the market, you have to be in the market. Make sure you don't make a mistake where you are thrown out of the game. Stay in the game, and there is no way that you can lose money over a long period of time.
Exactly. And very rightly put. And we are actually so blessed if you look at one level that we are right time in India. And let me just conclude, if this is the last question. Let's say
yes, this is the last
one. I started my mutual fund career in 1980s and not in 2004. You think there will be any Madhukela success story? Bullshit. Because there was no external environment to create that story. So I can give and the world can give me a disproportionate amount of credit for what I did. But I just recognize that there is a great opportunity and I persisted with that opportunity. To that extent, you can give me credit. But I did not create that opportunity.
Now, Thank you so much. It was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And but I will not accept your closing remarks. I think you are being very, very humble. You are. I have seen you up close and up front with that. Some of the serious challenges you have overcome, some of the opportunities that you have recognized. It does take a special skill to do that. And of course, staying humble through that and being wise in recognizing that you are not the only one responsible for that. All you have done is recognize the opportunity is also in itself an ingredient that is required to stay longer in the game. With this, I would like to conclude our conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you all for the wonderful audience.
I spoke with my heart. It was a free-flowing discussion. I hope it is useful for all the participants, and thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah, with this, we would like to conclude the webinar, and thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much. Let me start by making that point. A lot of people think that COVID is the needle that pricked the bubble, but I feel it is the other way around. It is an accelerator or a fuel that's going to increase the fire even more. COVID, what does COVID stand for the market? I have an acronym for you, and the acronym is COVID. C stands for basically consolidation across sectors, cost-cutting initiatives, and benign central bankers. O stands for opportunity to grab market share, for example, China +1, and it's an opportunity in adversity. V stands for attractive valuation, and it is a V-shaped recovery that we are witnessing. I stands for India First, Atmanirbhar. Government has initiated so many policies to help the local sectors. And D stands for accelerated adoption and digitization.